Hi everyone, this is Ashley from the Life After Trauma channel. I just wanted to make a bit of a video here basically addressing and reminding people in the DID community of the truth and addressing the misinformation coming from one of the biggest sources of misinformation on TikTok and YouTube. If you know, you know. And basically, what I'm seeing is healing and fusion and integration of alters and parts is being treated as death. So I basically wanted to remind everyone that alters and parts and headmates and whatever you decide to call them, they cannot die. They are all part of you. They are all in your brain. And unless you decide to take a saw or something and cut out chunks of your brain, they're not going to die. Now, it's completely possible to feel like there is a gigantic change in your life that needs to be grieved when there is a fusion or an integration or any type of healing happens. And that's perfectly fine. That is perfectly normal. A grieving process when processing trauma is to kind of be expected and is normal. But what isn't normal is to go around and make other people who are vulnerable and who are looking for a grounded perspective on what healing with DID and trauma is like, to convince them that alters fusing is alters dying, which is not true. To hammer that home a little bit more, I've created a fantastic visual example here. So, here I have two cups. One has green liquid, one has yellow liquid. So this is green altar, this is yellow altar. Now, when healing happens, the jobs that each of these altars originally had, or the reason that they originally dissociated from the brain and from the consciousness, aren't really there anymore. So if there is a part that was there to kind of manage a specific trauma, or if there was a part that was there to manage a specific abuser, and you're no longer in those situations and you've processed that trauma, their reason for being dissociated from the main consciousness, like from your awareness, isn't there anymore. So what happens is they might start, commingling together with different parts. They might co-front or kind of blend. You kind of start being like a bit of a blendy mess. Like instead of them being this far apart in the consciousness, it might feel like, they're right next to each other, influencing each other. Again, this isn't something that you can just scientifically see on like a MRI or something. Like you can't see parts of your brain floating next to each other. This is just a very odd example to explain what it might feel like in your head and what your brain might come up with as like as an explanation of what's going on. Brains are very good at just kind of creating an explanation for what's going on in their world without actually being a legit explanation. Kind of why inner worlds are sort of a thing sometimes, as an alter needs to make up a story of where the hell they've been if they haven't actually seen like their reality for a while. And that's kind of where that happens. Anyways, back to my example. So when fusion happens, or integration, whatever term you decide to use, basically both of those alters consciousnesses are, I was going to do this at the same time, but I only have one hand, sorry. Both of those alters consciousnesses are put together into one dissociative group. So instead of them both having their own containers, their own dissociative barriers around themselves, their own area, they now exist in one container and they have one dissociative barrier around them, or none. This could just be the main the main barrier of your mind, You could have just had the two alters and then they fused, and now you're just one whole consciousness without dissociative barriers stuck in between them. That's perfectly fine too. But the thing to remember is both yellow and green are still in here. This was supposed to look more blue, but I guess I didn't add enough yellow. Here. Both yellow and green are still in there. Yellow didn't die. I didn't dump yellow down the sink, and neither did I dump green down the sink and just make a whole new cup with water. They're both still in here. They look different. They have a different dissociative barrier container, but they're both still in here. The only thing is that you can't see which individual parts are yellow and which individual parts are green. It's all just blue. It doesn't mean that yellow died. It doesn't mean that green died. They're both still there. It's just now that there's no dissociative barriers in between the parts, they can commingle and inhabit a different container and go on with life. Now, if you live your entire life with having a green container and a yellow container, and now you suddenly have a blue container, you're going to feel sad. It's a change. It might feel different in your brain. It might feel weird. You might go about challenges in your life differently now because you have a blue container instead of both a green and a yellow container. And it's perfectly fine to feel sad. It's perfectly fine to grieve, like, oh, this would have been different if I just had the yellow container, or this situation might have been better if I just had just the green container, and kind of grieve what you're missing out. Or grieve the change, or you can even grieve like the reason yellow and green had to be there in the first place. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly normal. But what is not normal is going with those emotions and taking them as fact of green and yellow are dead now. I killed them because I healed. That's not true. That's going to lead to a lot of manufactured emotions. It's going to make you feel guilty. It's going to make you feel scared to continue to heal. And when you put it on TikTok and YouTube, it's going to make others feel scared to heal too. It's incredibly irresponsible. So yeah, I'm just getting sick and tired of one specific creator with 1 million followers sharing this bullshit misinformation, and I decided to create a visual example. If you know who it is, you know. Anyways, this is your friendly neighborhood life after trauma promoter saying, alters cannot die. Do not be afraid to heal. Trauma is treatable. And remember, avoidance is this glue that keeps trauma stuck. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. I hope the rest of the holiday season doesn't suck for anyone and you get some peace. Remember to self-care. Thanks. Bye.